Hi everyone, this is Himanshu from Pharma Shots. This is a post-conference debrief from with Rahul Mittal, who is was a panelist discussing certain topics related to patient centricity and patient involvement at Reuters Pharma USA event in Philadelphia last week. So I was there. I personally attended his session. It was very insightful, and I reached out to Rahul to give us a 15-20 minutes time for to speak dedicatedly about the topic and about So I obviously had certain questions, so I wanted to discuss that as well. So thank you so much, Rahul, for taking out time and talking to us. Yeah.
Sure, Himanshu. Pleasure is mine. Please.
So Rahul, before we start, can we have a very quick a bit background about you for our audience?
Right. Hi, I'm Rahul Mittal, and I am the head of strategy for Dr. Reddy's in North America. Um, my key role is essentially building out of new moves, ideation of spaces where we want to enter, and I also look at specialty marketing. And previously, I was the head of strategy for Dr. Reddy's in emerging markets, which is about 33 plus countries, right from Australia, China in the east to LATAM markets. I have about 10 years of experience in consulting across IQV and KPMG.
Thank you so much, Rahul. So without further delay, I'll quickly start with my first question. So I've attended the panel discussion which you were the part of, and then certain key points which came to my mind. One of those was, why do you think individualized physician engagement is becoming very important, and then in the present healthcare landscape or in the pharmaceutical landscape or patient care landscape, basically. So yeah. So what do you think? What are your thoughts about that?
Right. So my personal thoughts to this would be like the overall market context is becoming extremely competitive. There are significant macro pricing pressures. There are IARA Act, etc. And there are more and more brands which are competing for the same share of voice with the physician. There is an information overload for physicians, including a lot of digital noise, and it's becoming very hard for brands to differentiate. In this, building a truly human-centered omni-channel strategy, which can focus on the respective need of a physician and help in building trust, I think that's the way to go. Currently, messages lack personalizations, and HCPs typically don't want to hear brand-centric messaging from MSLs and reps. What they seek is content or information that really adds value, which addresses the real unmet needs, and which perhaps should also include real-world studies and information in terms of how the drug is actually acting. So a truly human-centered omni-channel strategy would keep HCP at the core. It would give personalized and individual engagement and would solve the doctor's medical unmet needs and help in building trust. This, for instance, can lead to significant competitive advantages for the brand and engage both the HCPs and the patients in their respective journeys and lead to superior outcomes.
Okay, fair enough. And I agree with you on this point, because we always used to see, before this, a lot of patient centricity and patient engagement and HCP engagement. We used to see brands used to have that one shoe fit all kind of a strategy. So how how the bigger organization or the smaller organizations are moving away from this one size fit all kind of an approach in terms of HCP engagement?
A couple of things here, Himanshu. So one is you build the foundation. And for building the foundation, you need to do 3 or 4 different things. One is you start capturing meaningful information across internal data sources, which could be your call notes, your congresses, whatever the medical affairs is saying, where the HCP is advising, the treatment patterns, etc. Second, you look at external data sources. So this could be your payer data, research articles, what the doctor's been talking about, where is the research happening, what kind of excites the HCP. You look at the social media. You look at the trials data. Then even for instance, social media, like what is the doctor actually writing in terms of or writing on LinkedIn or Twitter. And then you track the physician journey if you can on third-party websites, on Medscape, on Doxicity, so on and so forth. And once you do all of this together, a pharma company or a brand manager should be able to form a holistic HCP view. And key thing to know is this view will keep changing with time because as the experiences would change, the HCP view would change. And that's probably for a different conversation. But
Yeah.
once you build a comprehensive view, it enables teams to understand HCP preference and unmet needs in a very comprehensive way. And on top of that, once you apply advanced segmentation, you can create detailed HCP personas and are able to identify and segment doctors and say early adopters of innovation, preference of certain brands, evidence-seeking traditionalist doctor, so on and so forth. And then once you do that, you have personas ready. You can then have a customized strategy for each and every persona, and that could relate to how you communicate with them with respect to your brand messages in terms of how you're building communication about how the reps are going and talking about to them, what are the platform services you can offer to them, and even omni-channel workflows, which then go and deliver the right message and continuously adapt to the changing preferences. So this would be the framework in my view, to customized physician HCP engagement.
Okay. So I want to touch base on the omni-channel strategy basically. But before that, there was one more point which was discussed during the panel discussion, which was use of technology. And right now what we are seeing is there is a lot of AI. Then CRM solutions are there without naming any. There are multiple CRM solutions. So how this technology, basically AI and CRM solution, are shaping up the HCP engagement and and obviously I also want to know separately about the patient engagement as well.
Right. So when we look at AI tools, I think one is as we saw in the heard in the conference across panels, different companies are piloting different tools uh, while and they're getting different kind of success. Now, if we were to break down this question into, say, definition of HCP, more around building personas or segments, and then we can answer it in terms of how do we kind of communicate with them. So for the first one, there are several tools which are, which companies are trying. So there is HCP tracking on third-party platforms, anonymized tracking, obviously with consent on, say, a Medscape or Doximity or the social media platform or say a PubMed, and you're tracking them and you're building personas. And for this, you need advanced AI tools would actually go and track and do that. You use generative AI tools to research about an HCP. Say, what are the publications he's been writing over a period, he or she has been writing over a period of time. And then you can put your appropriate search strings as per, how you've defined your brand to understand what exactly is the focus area of the HCP. Then so some of these examples come to my mind in terms of segmentation, but then when you come to targeting, you can use speech to text. When the HCP is speaking with your rep, what exactly is the communication? Can you use that and feed that into, say, your CRM tool or a database? How can you do sentiment analysis? How can you prep the rep prior to the call? Can you give nudge? We've seen many companies talking about using AI to build nudges in terms of customized video outcomes, video messages, which the rep can use to communicate with the HCP prior to his call, which kind of summarizes the previous call's notes, gives an insight into what the HCP would want to hear or which product to talk about or what needs to be communicated. So I think AI will advance the process of omni-channel, and it's not that we were not doing this before, but we were doing it different mechanisms, say 5 years back. Now, what AI will do is it's going to give you a new set of tools which will accelerate this entire process. So that's my view on AI and advanced analytics.
Okay. So another question comes from this only that, with a lot of AI being there and aren't we losing on the human sentiments or the human touch kind of a thing while we are engaging with so what are your thought process basically about that with the AI engagement are we losing on it or we are not losing on it? How do you see it basically?
So I think AI are just tools which are facilitating your human touch. So the human touch, I think it is accelerating the human touch because the rep is any which way is going and meeting the HCP. Now, what you're arming the rep is with more qualified information in terms of communicating. You're identifying the right channel with which the communication should happen from a pharmaco to an HCP. And maybe the HCP does not want to see the rep. He's perhaps more interested in seeing emails or getting right information on emails. So then you, as a pharmaco, you have a better way to engage because then you can send out sharp targeted emails. Or maybe perhaps the doctor wants to meet the rep, and now you're arming the rep with relevant information. So for me, clearly, some of these tools are going to be enablers to this process, which will accelerate the human touch and get people what they want to understand about.
No, I agree with you on that. Okay, this is going to be my last question. Um, what are the watchouts as a company to build a omni-channel strategy?
Right. Clearly, when you're starting out omni-channel, there are multiple and diverse tools and ways you can approach. What a pharmaco slash a therapy should establish is how are they defining customer value and understand how they're going to get there. So for that, there are three things they need to see. One is they should have clear understanding on what parts of omni-channel to prioritize. So for that, you need is there an established alignment across the organization on the omni-channel agenda? Is there alignment on the long-term vision and a clear understanding of the current status? Otherwise, what happens is organizations end up investing in a scattershot fashion and they fund divergent priorities, leading to suboptimal outcomes. Number two would point to your previous point that there is more focus on tech than on customer value. So many players have kind of embraced tech-enabled flashy innovations to create differentiation, but without a proper understanding or grounding in customer needs or determining how these investments will create and sustain value at scale, you might end up with inefficient systems that drain capital expenditure, and therefore you're killing the the incentivization of leadership to fund further omni-channel initiatives. And the third thing is you failure to sequence investments in line with your corporate strategy. So once the North Star has been identified, you should do the critical thinking of identify and clearly knowing what your starting point is and what are the specific capabilities you need to succeed at each step. We should not be in a pressure to keep pace with what other companies are doing, or eagerness to put a compelling idea into action can prompt us to plunge in head first. So
Yeah.
without clearly sequencing what set of activities you want to crawl, where you want to walk, and where do you want to run, unless you're following that sequence, the right sequence of approach, unless you're doing the right pilots, and without investing in the right fundamentals, you may end up with fragmented investments in different tools that eventually could end up destroying value. So those are the couple of watchouts in my view, which we learned from the conference, which I thought could help your audience.
Definitely, these were very good points, and thank you for clarifying and making this session very informative. And obviously, a one-to-one kind of understanding gives a lot of more information. So yeah, so thank you once again for giving us your time. And this was Rahul Mittal, and he added a lot of value. I personally attended the session, and it was a great panel discussion. And hence, we invited Rahul to talk to us about his learning from his experience, and plus his learning from the conference. Uh, so thank you all of you for listening to this to this discussion. And yeah, signing off. And we'll come up with a new interview and a new session very soon. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thanks, Himanshu. Thanks for your time.